Introducing a whole new form of racing to the best online racing simulation in the world. This is Dirt Racing on iRacing.com. Race online at some of America's most legendary dirt tracks, including Eldora and Williams Grove. iRacing is the premier online racing game featuring NASCAR, IndyCar, sports cars, and now World of Outlaws, the leading sanctioning body for dirt racing. iRacing is easy to use and features a centralized ranking system to make sure you have the best experience at any skill level. With a massive inventory of high-precision laser scan tracks and cars with an unmatched dedication to quality and detail, iRacing gives you the most authentic online racing experience available. Thanks to iRacing's dynamic track system, developed specifically for dirt racing, tracks change over the course of a race, just like your favorite dirt track on a Friday or Saturday night. From a slick racing groove all the way up to the cushion, iRacing's dirt tracks deliver non-stop racing action. Partnered with the World of Outlaws, iRacing is your source for the most authentic dirt racing experience available, featuring 4 brand new tracks and 11 new cars, including street stocks, Legends cars, late models, NASCAR trucks, winged and non-winged sprint cars, with much more on the way. Join the Dirt Revolution on iRacing.com and start slinging mud today.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to V8 Online's live coverage of the iRacing official V8 Supercar Series. It is round 5. We're off to Summit Point, the true club layout, and the closest we have to a lot of the smaller tracks in Australia here on iRacing. Tonight, Jay Kennedy, myself, and alongside me, Bo Albert. Bo, it's going to be a very, very cool race. Strategy will be key. Saving tyres will be key, which is something different for this series tonight.
Yeah, tonight is a whole different ball game. and I'm really looking forward to it. Lap time's just under 70 seconds, so lap times go quick here, but tyres will be going even quicker. And we're expecting tonight that drivers will be able to complete the race with no stops at all, but the tyre drop-off on these V8 Supercars is very long, very hard, and very dramatic. So if you are thinking of doing that no stop, you better make sure that you're well and truly alert, because that car is going to be all kinds of crazy loose towards the end of the stint.
Yeah, we saw the earlier race, the V8 Americas race. The guys did it with no stops, and they were absolutely shot by the end of the race, struggling to bring it home at the end. So it'll be interesting to see if anyone does decide to throw a bit of a curveball and pit for tyres. Drivers currently in qualifying at only 2/100ths, 25 thousandths of a second, separating first and second at the moment in Josh Rogers and Jared Filsell. We're getting most of the other drivers coming across the line to complete their lap times. On screen, Michael Avdoka. First lap didn't count, so he's going back for a second, but pretty strong field tonight. Some big name drivers returning to the official series for a long time. Josh Rogers, Jared Filsell, both out there on track. Jared, first race in the official series this season, and the second for Rogers after winning at Bathurst. Be good to see how those guys go against the regulars in Dane Warren and Marlon McMullen, who are in third and fourth.
Yeah, a lot of new guys and also returning guys that we normally see in the V8 Scops races that are broadcast here on V8 Online. So that's good to see, and right now they're not disappointing at the moment. First and second, and only 300th separating them. So they're doing very well at the moment, as Michael Avdoka continues on his lap around this incredibly tight Summer Point circuit, heading now into that final high-speed corner. And hopefully for him, he can get himself a lap time in and move up on this 26-car grid, fitting around a track which is only 3 kilometers in length. So very, very tight quarters here at Summer Point. Avdoka does his lap and moves up to 23rd, just under the 70-second mark, but otherwise a good lap from him.
Smallest margin you can have to the 70-second mark with the 9.999. Good to see a driver out there I haven't seen in the V8 Supercar for a long time. Former teammate of mine, Michael McCabe. Good to see him out. A former top runner in the V8 Supercar way back when. I'm talking 2012, 2013. It's probably been 3 or 4 years since I've seen him in the V8 Supercar. So good to see him out on track as we get to pretty much the conclusion of qualifying. Greg Sharp about to cross the finish line and doesn't improve on his second lap. Mario Vlasic about to finish his second attempt as well.
To the final few corners. Let's see if he gets a good run using all that extra curve. He can use that quite a lot, as we saw in the Mazdas quite a few weeks ago. He can do it in this series as well, and Mario Vlasic across the line, and that I'm going to have to check the lap times there.
Yeah, that doesn't look right, does it? I think he must have stopped halfway around on that second lap, because that's a 2:18. That's around about a full lap off the pace.
Yep, and we know Vlasic is not that slow of a peddler, so
No.
iRacing just playing little games with us tonight, as we still have a few drivers running laps, including Greg Sharp out on track and Michael Avdoka also trying to get some final practice in. But unfortunately for him, time's up and we're heading to the grid.
Yeah, grid on screen. Josh Rogers will start this race from pole position. Jared Filsell in P2. Dane Warren third. Marlon McMullen in fourth. Then Brad Ryan, Matt Stratford, Corey Preston, Riley Blythe, Michael Taliancic, and Thomas Hinds rounding out the top 10.
In P number 11, the returning Michael McCabe with Craig Jones alongside him. In 13th, it's going to be Chris D'Angelo with Jason Quay and Brian Ball completing the top 15. Mario Vlasic, who we saw on screen, has Daniel Williams alongside with Greg Sharp, Jamie McKnight, and Zach Baker rounding out the top 20, with Braden Bateman, Brett Loxton, Michael Avdoka, Tim Weston, Yuhei Abe, and Ed R. Williams rounding out this 26-car grid around a 3-kilometer Summit Point circuit. It's going to get interesting real quick.
Yeah, 33 laps ahead for these drivers too, so it'll be a very, very tough race. Very, very tough to pass, but I absolutely love this track in the V8. It reminds me of a hybrid between Malala, Winton, Barbagallo, and Queensland Raceway to an extent as well. Simmons Plains, all of those, you mash them all together in a blender, and you sort of get something a bit like Summit Point with the way that this track twists and turns and how narrow it is.
Yeah, it's a really interesting combination of circuits that Summit Point is kind of mashed all together. But it's also an incredibly dangerous track because there's no real barriers around here around the track. So it's a bit of a throwback as well and a bit of a classic in terms of look and feel. But that's just about all the drivers on the grid. And we're now going to begin with just a few more cars left to grid up, waiting for that countdown for the lights to come on and unleash over 200,000 horsepower on this circuit.
Yeah, looking forward to seeing how we go into turn one. It will be chaotic for sure with these thundering V8s heading down this fairly short front straight, 3 kilometers in length for the whole track. As the revs rise, here we go. Round 5 of the iRacing official V8 Supercar Series is go.
Pretty good start from the two front runners, but Jared Filson with a very good second phase of the start, and it's going to be side by side between the two leaders. We have cars off in the grass in the background getting all kinds of loose. Almost
All-star car.
Just. Thankfully, no crash, but they all head into turn one. No wrecks yet. Filson pushed down on the grass and loses the spot to Dane Warren, but for the mid-pack, we're all getting through cleanly, and looks like all 26 cars will survive.
For now, because into this very tough turn 2, but they look like they've settled fairly well at the front. Back in the field, a little bit messy behind Riley Blythe. Top 5 have split away. Then from 6 back, there's a big gaggle of cars. Riley Blythe off in the grass through the inside of the hairpin, as is Corey Preston. And then you've got Jason Quire. Oh! And Michael McCabe come together. Jason Quire and McCabe. Fairly heavy contact between those two. What a start this race has been. I can see also Mario Vlasic is missing his bonnet, so he's been involved in something too. And Daniel Williams is out of the race after that incident we saw. Jason Quire also in the lane.
McCabe there, slowing down and heading towards pit lanes. That's a disaster for him. And he's not going to be the only car diving to the pits as well, with Jason Quire diving in. So a lot of cars worse for wear after that first lap, and it's still going on in the midfield as you have drivers too wide, forming towards the very hard braking zone of turn 1. They all look to get settled down relatively easy. No, the 14 car, Chris D'Angelo, almost goes around, collects Mario Vlasic. Cars are off in the grass, cars off almost in the fence. They're going everywhere right now. Is it still going on? One of the Pagnian cars goes around. That's Craig Jones, and that's a huge crash.
You get a replay of it up on screen now because we missed it with another replay. Vlasic. Fairly big hit for Vlasic there, and it's still going on in that pack. And then around goes Jones and McKnight as well, and Avdoka as well. And Vlasic just can't seem to take a trick here. He's ended up being hit from pillar to post, and that is his race pretty much done. As we go back live to the front, Josh Rogers has pulled a bit of a gap from Dane Warren, who managed to go up the inside and get it done before turn 2 on lap 1. And he's doing a pretty good job of pulling away from Jared Filsell.
Yeah, he is, of course, championship leader at the moment in this series, and proving why at the moment he's in between two of the quickest in Australia. And with Jared Filsell, a very scary sight in your mirrors, he's doing a fantastic job and pulling away like you said. So Dane Warren right now doing a fantastic job in that car, but we also have Mullen and Brad Ryan also coming with this pack as well. So 5 cars out the front, separate by just 2 seconds. This is the kind of racing you can expect around such a small track.
And it won't change too much. Or running wide is Warren, and alongside now Filsell, not quite able to get through.
They head through this really fast sequence of S's. Must be a really hard place to get the traction down, as you're constantly fighting the throttle and the rear tires to get some speed going, but you just need to keep the steering lock on as well. So these drivers, very talented, doing what they're doing in these massively tough cars to drive, but Jared Filsell really beginning to apply the pressure on Dane Warren. And will he think about a move into turn 1? You betcha he does. He pulls alongside the All-Star Motorsport car, brave under brakes, very late from Jared Filsell, and gets the move done. Dane Warren wants to get a cutback. We'll see how well he can get the traction down. Jared Filsell in the Trans-Tasman Racing Commodore, just a little bit too good for right now.
He's ended up doing that a little bit easier than I thought. Thought Warren might have had enough to come around, but maybe thinking long term, as we said at the start, tyres will really play key later on in this race, depending on who's got any left at all. So Warren possibly thinking about the long game there.
Phil Sell is definitely not thinking of the long game as he's sliding that car through those S's there and really pushing right now. So Phil Sell, he knows he has a bit of a margin to catch to get to Josh Rogers, 1.3 seconds on this lap. So Phil Sell has a lot of work to do to catch his long-run rival and definitely good mate. So see if he can pull the goods. But as he continues to do this, Dane Warren can just sit in the slipstream and go with Phil Sell quite easily and save tyre as well. So Dane Warren proving himself to be a bit of a dark horse in this race at the moment.
Big pack of cars building behind Greg Sharp, whose car looks a little bit second-hand after the issue we saw at turn 1 3 laps ago. And up the inside, Jamie McKnight on Lihu Abe, and move done for him as well.
Seems at the moment that there's quite a big split between all of the cars, but they're all in trains of each other. We have the top 5 all in a train, then the next 4 are all in the train. Then we have this big battle starting from Chris D'Angelo to Greg Sharp all the way down to Michael Evdoka as well. So there is a bit of a spread in the field, but every single person right now has a driver to race with, and that's fantastic.
I think the only driver that doesn't is Corey Preston.
A big moment there for one of the Ford Falcons, just trying to see who that was, but a big moment there as he's
Brian
right in
Borg.
front of the train.
Yep.
So Brian Borg with a very, very near-death experience for his race, and he's now under a lot of attack from Greg Sharp, who was looking pretty vulnerable from the pack behind, but is now looking on the offensive as we're thinking almost about 3 wide just behind.
This pack is starting to get a bit angry. Quick cut price racing replay of Brian Borg's almost off.
We have a car on the rear brakes, the 23 car almost spinning him into turn 1. That was very close from Brett Loxton. Sorry to cut across you there.
No, you're right, mate. We'll quickly get another replay of that, because while we were looking at that replay, that was a huge lockup for Loxton. He did a great job there to pull that up, so well done from him. At the front, that front 5 cars, they've settled and spread. Saying that, Rogers gap back to Phil Sell, down to 7/10 of a second on this lap, so Phil Sell's halved that gap in 1 lap.
Yeah, it's pretty terrifying pace from Phil Sell. These two were in a practice session just before, and their practice lap times were within 1/100th of each other, 0.001. So these guys are very well matched, but right now Phil Sell, I think he's using up quite a lot of his tyres to get this done, because we would not normally expect to see a 7/10 swing between these two. But right now, Rogers has to keep an eye on his mirror, because Phil Sell is coming quick.
Braden Bateman is just about to lose his 2nd spot in 2 corners. As up the inside comes Zach Baker, and he's going to get 2 in 1 corner. Is he? No. Bateman might be able to hold on around the outside here.
Door handle to door handle. They're probably knocking the mirrors off their cars right now. Very squirrely on the brakes for Bateman, but he gets the job done, and a little bit of a bump there on the exit from the number 20 car of Zach Baker. So he's just letting Bateman know that he is still there, thinks about a move up the inside there, but falls behind. So these two are racing very hard at the moment. There's another tap.
Michael Evdoka's got a great view. I don't know if he wants that view of what's going on ahead, but you can see a fair bit of bumping and pushing and shoving, but looks like it's now settled now that Bateman's got back into line and not under pressure. To go back to 6th, 7th and 8th battle pack that we saw a little bit right at the very start of the race, and then they spread apart to about a second or close to separating all 3, but Riley Blythe, Matt Stratford, Michael Teliancic, these 3 guys are going at it pretty hard.
Yeah, they are, and it's one of those awesome battles where you have the quickest car on the last lap, which was Michael Teliancic. In this battle, the fastest of them all. Stratford's quicker than Riley Blythe. In front of him, he gets all kinds of squirrely under brakes there, and he is all those slower than Teliancic. So the quickest car in this battle at the moment is at the back, the slowest at the front. This is going to get heated pretty quick, especially with the overtaking opportunities around this track at turn 1, the most obvious, as well as sometimes into turn 2. So we'll see if Matt Stratford can do anything on Riley Blythe through this next sequence of high-speed corners. But if it's not on this lap, this is sure to be a battle that heats up over the next few.
Gap at the front is still closing a little bit, nowhere near as quick as it was on that first lap after Philsell got clear air, but we'll keep an eye on this. But we'll stay with this battle between Blythe, Stratford and Talyancic because it is pretty close at the moment. Stratford looks the most racy out of the three, but it is a tough track to pass here, Summit Point, in a low horsepower car. In a V8 supercar, it is extremely difficult to get past.
Yeah, it's a very tight track and something the V8 supercars are not used to. And as well, there's a lot of medium speed corners which you have to chain one after the other, a bit like the S's at Suzuka, where if you get the first one wrong, you're going to feel the pain for the next 3 or so corners. Summit Point is similar to that, and you saw there that Riley Blythe had a good few sections of corners. Stratford just missed his marks a little bit, and all of a sudden, Talyancic got a whole lot closer in his mirrors. So it's just going to be a bit of a game of chess around here. Who can go the fastest, who can make the least mistakes, and who can look after their tyres. See Stratford missing the apex a little bit more there, and that's actually gave Talyancic quite a good run now. So Stratford went from being the hunter to potentially the hunted. Has to go defensive in the turn 1, moves all the way to the right of the track. See if Talyancic is brave on the brakes, doesn't even need to be. Job done even before turn 1. So Talyancic, who was one of the quicker cars in this battle for now has Riley Blythe right in front of him for being number 6.
And Talyancic has pulled away fairly quick too, so don't be surprised if he is right on the back of that Evolution Racing Team purple and black machine of Riley Blythe. What does it go with that colour combination, Bo?
I don't know. I've tried many times to convince him not to do it, but all he did in relation to that was just make the wheels even more purple. So he's thankfully gone back to the black rims, which I'm happy about, so he can keep his primary and secondary colours like that. But yeah, it eats away at me at night sometimes.
I'm a purple fan, but I don't think purple and black. Purple and white, swap them around. Swap the white and the black around. It'll look good.
Alright, Riley, I'm changing all your paint skins when you're not looking. Job done.
Braden Bateman still under attack. He's actually just got back past Zach Baker, who we saw battle with him before. They did change of position and change back once again. Gap at the front, staying at now at 0.7 of a second, but guess what's going to throw a little bit of a curveball? We're only 11 laps in. Traffic. Did not think we'd see traffic already.
And this is not the track you want traffic. As you can see, Vlasic gets out of the way there, but there's still not much of a gap there. And just in relation to that, Philsell has closed that gap in a bit. So, especially when you get to the big battles like we see with the battle that includes Greg Sharp and KA, that is a big train. And if the leaders ever do get around to catching them, which with the pace they're running is a high possibility as we're about to start lap number 12, that's going to be very difficult for these leaders to work through, and that could be advantage Jared Philsell with Rogers getting caught up first.
Have a look at how much of a gap these two have pulled since they got clear. Once Dane Warren was almost forced to surrender that second position back to Jared Philsell, they've just broken away.
They have it, but for Josh Rogers, he missed the apex at turn 1 by a country mile on this lap alone. In just one corner, he came down 3/10, so Rogers potentially beginning to crack under pressure already.
Amazing seeing how these guys tackle this course in these high-powered V8 beasts around the smallest circuit we go to this season in Summit Point. Track that doesn't see a huge amount of real-world racing anymore. They mainly see a lot of club days and track days and training schools. They actually do a lot of military training there as well. Not too much of the big sports cars and anything like a V8 supercar scene there these days, but still an awesome track.
Yeah, it is. It's very unique and has a lot of unique characteristics to it, as well as quite a few things and corners from other tracks as well. So it's a shame it doesn't get much action, but I mean, when you look at the lack of barriers and all that, it's not too difficult to see why, but hopefully we don't have anything like that today with these V8 supercars, and they can all make it out unscathed. But right now, Phil Sell is putting a lot of pressure on Rogers as he closed down by another 10th on this lap.
Yeah, so it's down now to just on half a second. 6th and 7th is going on as well, with Blythe having to defend quite aggressively from Michael Taliancic behind. Taliancic looks like he's got the better pace. Oh, Stratford in the background. Big moment for Stratty, and he's somehow pulled it up, and he's only going to lose one spot to Thomas Hinds. That was a big moment for Stratty.
That was a huge moment, and on my screen, he has missed the wall by millimeters. It might be netcode, it might be something other, but on my screen, Stratford has got away with pure luck in that incident. Of all the corners around Summit Point, that is the last one you want to have any kind of issue.
It's the only corner around the whole track that has a wall here, and he almost found it. But he's recovered, and he's now tucked in behind Thomas Hinds, coming off his decent result yesterday in the Bathurst 1000, finishing 4th in the iRacing official Bathurst 1000 yesterday. Just seeing Brad Ryan's gone straight ahead at turn 1. He was in 5th. I would not be surprised if he's just blown an engine.
Having a bit of a look, and he locked up under brakes into turn 1, but I'm not really hearing of too much of an engine blowing, so that's a weird one for Brad Ryan. He's immediately left the server, so potentially had some other commitments to get to. But
either that or a hardware failure of some sort.
Potentially, but that's a shame for him. Running inside the top 5 in a very strong field, that's a big shame for him.
Yeah, disappointing way for that to end for him. He was doing a very, very good job just holding on to that 5th position and lapping quite consistent lap times as well. So, unfortunate end to Brad Ryan's race. What that does do, it raises this battle between Riley Blythe and Michael Taliancic. It's now for a spot in the top 5.
Yep, and that's big bragging rights for both of these guys, with the likes of Rogers, Phil Sell, Warren, some of the really big hitters in the V8 Supercar in this field. Top 5 is no mean feat at all. Right now, Riley Blythe is in the box seat, but Taliancic is looking ever threatening in that bright green car just behind. As Blythe misses the apex ever so slightly, and that's advantage Taliancic just an extra few tenths.
Big moment for Blythe, and it almost looked like Taliancic was going to throw it right up the inside and make a bit of a brave move, but I'm glad he's thought better of it. Tell you what, can you believe we're almost halfway through this race already? This is flying by, this one tonight.
It is a small circuit, so time flies, and there's a lot of action happening every lap, so we've been kept on our toes the entire time, not given any kind of rest, and so far only halfway through, but I can't wait for the second half if it's just as action-packed as the first.
Thomas Hinds is pulling away a tiny little bit from Matt Stratford, who now has Corey Preston coming up on his tail. So Preston's had no one to race with pretty much the entire race up until now, since the issue he had on lap 1 where he had to take to the grass to take avoiding action. And he now will try and work to gain a position on both Stratford and Thomas Hinds. As up the inside goes Yuhu Abe, and Chris D'Angelo drops a spot, almost was able to crisscross back, but he's going to have to forfeit that spot. Drops back into 11th, does D'Angelo. Up to 10th goes Yuhu Abe.
Yeah, good pass there, and managed to get the good exit, so there was nothing that Chris D'Angelo could do on the cutback, but it so nearly worked for him, so kudos for trying, and we'll see if someone else can pull that off later in the race. But these two having a good fight for 10th at the moment, and there's bragging rights in that as well, so these two are fighting over quite a lot of championship points too, so don't be so sure if Chris D'Angelo doesn't give up on this battle just yet.
And Abe will be wanting to get a bit of redemption after blown engine at the chase yesterday in the Bathurst 1000, while that car was in 3rd position too, so be wanting to try and weave some magic as we're right on board, looking back from Josh Rogers' car to the Holden Commodore of Jared Filsell. There's 0.3 of a second separating these two drivers now.
Yeah, Phil Sellers finally got that gap down, and with the slipstream down that front straight, once Phil Sellers there, I expect the remaining 16.5 laps to have these two locked nose to tail the entire time. And in the practice session I was in just beforehand watching these two guys go at it, they're definitely not playing it safe with overtaking moves with one another, sometimes using the grass and more to get the passes done. So if Rogers defends well, Phil Sellers will still do whatever he can to get an overtaking move done on that TTL esports car. So this battle is going to heat up very quickly.
If you wanted to keep up to date with everything that's happening in the race too, we do have our live timing available up on our website. It is back working again after a couple of gremlins crept into the system yesterday. v8online.com/live-timing. We also are live on MixLR Radio. It is mixlr.com/v8online-radio. You can pick up an audio stream of the commentary there as well. If you are unable to watch live, you can still listen in, and we will be doing our best to bring that to you for each and every broadcast. Just noticing Rogers is taking some very different lines through a lot of the track at the moment. Don't know if that's Rogers and Phil Sell having a little bit of fun. Oh, that was a big slide. That wasn't planned.
That was the heart rate up, and if he was doing different lines to save the tyres, all that hard work over the last few laps has just gone out the window as a huge slide there out of that corner. And Rogers, he'll have to calm himself down after that, because Phil, as well as Phil Sell, because Phil Sell would have seen that in front of him and just gone, do I need to get on the brakes right now? So these two fighting very hard, and Phil Sell very late on the brakes into turn one as well. So Rogers doesn't have much time to recover from that slide because it's on once again.
Speaking of being on as well, Matt Stratford defending from Corey Preston coming up into turn one. Who's the bravest? Who's the latest on the brakes? Both broke extremely late wheel-to-wheel contact, and Stratford almost ran Preston off the road.
Yeah, that was pretty cheeky from Stratford as Preston fires it back up the inside. That was a hugely aggressive move. And Stratford must have been terrified to when to turn into that corner just there, but maybe Preston just felt he was hardly done by on the exit of turn one, which I could kind of understand. That was very cheeky from Stratford, but for Preston, that car of Matt Stratford is still in front of him, so he still has to get past him somehow.
Cut Price Racing replay on board of that into turn one. You can see how little road was left. They bump wheels, and then I'm sort of glad for Preston that there was that little bit of a runoff there where the circuit moves and heads over towards the Jefferson circuit. But that wasn't there. I think Preston would have been off into the dirt and out of the race. And here we go again. Both extremely late on the brakes. And Stratty's possibly run a bit too deep, but he's managed to pull it up. And they go at it again for another lap.
Preston this time trying the outside, does not get the move done, or at least as close as he was last time. But he's got a good run now. I wonder if he'll try anything into this hairpin. And this fast right-handed would be very scary if he did. Cuts it back a little bit very early on the brake so he could get a run into the hairpin, but not going to happen. Using all the curb on the left to go side by side into this right hand. This is not the place you want to do it. Another bump.
Oh, that was a little bit naughty. That was a bit naughty from Stratty.
Preston was definitely entitled to some road there, and very aggressive move there. So Corey Preston still on track, still did not lose any positions, but lost a lot of time. So we'll see how his lap times are if he can get to the back of Stratford again, and if he can, I'm not expecting the cleanest move we've ever seen.
No, I don't think it'll be too friendly if he can get back up there again, because that was rather naughty from Stratty. But anyway, we go live again, back to the front. 0.3 separating first and second.
Yep, very close at the moment. These two are still absolutely destroying each other's rear tyres, trying to up the pace. Even more is Phil Sell launching over the curb there. sometimes, like you were mentioning before, the different lines, Jay, Rogers likes to stay off the curbs in a lot of places, whereas Phil Cell is just destroying them sometimes. So two very different setups between the TTL and the TTR cars, but two very similar drivers who know each other very well. So no matter what different styles they're using, no matter what different cars they're using, Falcon versus Commodore, it's always good racing, as we see Rogers duck to the inside to go defensive against Phil Cell, who had a great run out of the final corner, but on the outside you're never going to get a good run unless you can get the crossover, which Phil Cell does. Rogers squirming for traction on the exit of turn 1, has the inside for the next corner, but Phil Cell has a slight run as they head to this very quick left-hander. Rogers on the inside, Phil Cell stuck on the outside. There's a little bit of a bump mid-corner, both running wheels into the sand trap, heading towards one of the quickest corners now, and Phil Cell falls back into the line and cannot do anything about it, but the gloves are off now.
It's well and truly on with 11 and a bit laps to go. Rogers is doing enough, and something's happened to Dane Warren. Dane Warren's in the fence.
Wasn't
Wow.
just in the fence, he was
On the fence. That was huge. A massive, massive crash for Dane Warren.
We have an exclusive crash summary from Dane Warren. Lol. So he is not happy with himself, just touched the grass on the braking zone for that very fast corner, and from there it was just straight line city to the tyre wall, and as Dane Warren would say, that was a bit of a pleb move.
That was, I think he's just auditioned for a spot for Pleb Sim Sports. As side by side, once again, both sideways. First and second go through turn 1, and Rogers stuck on the inside. It's not the preferred line coming up into turn 2. It's a very tough braking area on the inside there, but they've managed to get through okay so far this lap. And Phil Cell looks very, very racy now.
On the front of that TTR car, there's a bit of a black sponsorship logo on the front. I'm wondering after the end of the race if that will still be there, because he is rubbing on the back bumper of Rogers almost every corner.
I think there'll be a bit of orange on there then.
Yeah, there's a bit of a trade paint swapping going on at the moment, but even down this straight where there is no overtaking opportunity at all, Phil Cell ducking left and right to just get into Rogers' head, and doesn't quite get the exit there as they're all over the gravel trap there, trying to get the best exit they can. So I don't think he'll be on into turn 1, but you can never doubt Jared Phil Cell, so we'll see what he does. Stay single file, smart move, but
oh,
no,
does he?
I was wrong. Throws it up the inside, just moving ever so slightly, and is side by side for the 3rd lap in a row as Rogers, all kinds of sideways, could not get the traction at all. Phil Cell has a huge run, but around the outside, insta here does not work unless you're super brave. He backs out, goes for the crossover, and they're going to go side by side into one of the quickest corners, Jay.
Oh, this is going to be scary if they stay side by side here, but it will pay off for Phil Cell as he now takes the race lead. I cannot believe that he's in the lead of this race for now. But still side by side, they go bumping panels, and through goes the TTR number 2. Jared Phil Cell's Commodore now leads Josh Rogers' Falcon. Took 24 laps for him to get a move done. He's done it on the 24th lap, and there'll be 9 to go when they cross the line.
Yep, Phil Cell is going to lead this lap, but with the run Josh Rogers got out of the final corner, I wonder how many more laps in a row he will lead as Phil Cell goes to the inside and then moves over on the straight. And that was scary. Rogers very easily could have put Phil Cell in the trees. He goes around the outside.
Oh, lock up.
Brakes could not stop the car at all, like a MotoGP bike into that first turn. So Rogers with a huge moment almost had the opportunity, but for him, he still has 8 more attempts at it. As it's on as well for P number 4, Riley Blythe and Michael Taliancic going side by side into turn 1, and Blythe manages to hold onto that position for now, but Taliancic has well and truly turned the heat on.
And they'll be seeing now that they're both in the top 5 after the unfortunate incident for Dane Warren. They'll be pushing hard because we've seen that anything can happen. The tyres are almost fallen off the car at this point. Won't take much for one more driver ahead to end up in the fence, and if Rogers and Phil Cell can keep on fighting like they were before, there's a chance that these two could end up on the podium.
Yeah, there's every chance they could. Just looking a bit further back down your pack into turn 1, we did have a bit of an incident between Brett Loxton and Brian Borg, the two fighting for position number 14. And Brett Loxton just got a bit of a touch-up from Brian Borg, and he ended up almost half spinning his way down one position. So they may not be fighting for the top positions, but that doesn't mean they're not trying as hard.
Very bold move from Borg, and also notice on the timing as well that Corey Preston has managed to get past Matt Stratford, and he and Yuhu Abe have both gone ahead of Stratford, and they are battling into turn 1 as well. We go back to the leaders though, they're side by side again. Pushing!
The race is going off, there's battles happening everywhere. Phil Cell and Rogers leading on each other through the hairpins at the moment. And we're expecting a massive move from Rogers into turn 1 if he can get the exit of this next right-hander perfectly, as he's just trying to get into Phil Cell's head, getting the bump on the exit. So we'll see how these two go into turn 1, but it is going to be on once again.
It's going to have to look at sending it up the inside. Package is sealed.
Is it delivered?
What? Oh, Phil Cell got the rear wheel onto the concrete at the exit, and he's had to give up the spot. And back up the inside he goes. Deep commitment. And Rogers around the outside holds on. Phil Cell's coming back though.
It's happened again. Don't go side by side. Thankfully, Phil Cell pulls out of that one. That was always going to end in tears, but he's not giving up just yet, as there's another... His car is going to be orange by the end of tonight.
Oh!
It's just even more of it, as they're now going to go side by side. That could turn around. Almost does it. And Rogers doesn't give him much space in return through the next right-hander as well. So these two, gloves as well and truly off. There's going to be 6 laps to go when they cross the stripe this time around. And Phil Cell, don't go up the inside into this corner.
Oh, he's going to do it.
Okay.
Oh.
Don't listen to me then, Phil Cell. This is crazy racing.
Get your breath now, because you won't have a chance soon. Just saw just up ahead too, there's been an incident with Daniel Williams and another car. I'm not sure who that was, but up the inside goes Phil Cell again. Almost contact once more. Wow.
Do these two know there's not money on the line for this race or something?
I think
like...
there is definitely bragging rights on the line though, you can tell that.
Well, to be fair, that's probably more important to them, as these two have raced each other week in, week out, constantly scrapping so many times together. And tonight, it is no exception. Summit Point, it was always going to be a bit of an interesting track to see what kind of racing it produced.
Abe's off the track. Abe's off the track at the exit of turn 1. I think there's an incident between he and Preston into turn 1. I'll quickly get a Cut Price Racing replay. Big thanks once again to Cut Price Racing for their support and sponsorship of V8 Online.
Oh, Preston is very lucky in that one, because Abe he just went to go single file behind Preston, and when he went for that middle brake pedal, he just got all of the rear brakes and none of the front.
Here we go again.
Oh, and it's definitely on for the lead. Here we go. Oh, Rogers with a drift show into turn 1, and that has just compromised him so much, and Phil Cell takes that position away once again. So there's another lead change in this race, and Rogers very lucky to still have the car pointing in the right direction, as he had more opposite lock than correct lock into that first turn.
Here we go. Rogers having another look, can't get through here. And it's unsettled his car a little bit. You can tell that there is no grip left in these Dunlops at all. And sideways goes Rogers. That was huge.
We said at the start of this race that rear tyres would be going off very quickly in this race, and I think we've hit the stage now where Rogers has given up on tyre life, and he's just going for outright pace, and will do whatever he can on dud tyres there's going to be nothing left of these Dunlops at the end of the 33rd lap, which is only 4 laps away, as they've both got huge amounts of opposite lock coming out of turn 1. The tyres are absolutely destroyed, and right now, Phil Cell making the most of it.
And behind, it's on again between Blythe and Taliancic. And Stratford has a real struggle on his hands with Chris D'Angelo and Greg Sharp both trying to get past that beaten and battered up car of Matt Stratford. D'Angelo might be able to get a move here. Sharp's going to have a look.
That's from a long way back on the rear brakes.
And Stratford's run wide.
Well. That might be 2 spots in a single corner for Sharp. That's a fantastic move from him. We didn't think it was going to be close enough, but out of nowhere he's grabbed both of them. Or has he?
Oh, Stratford! That's a big hit into Sharp. And that is race done for Greg Sharp. That was a very, very big hit. Wow. What a race this has been.
It's been interesting. I've got to say that there's a lot of incidents happening today as we have Stratford and D'Angelo still going at it for that spot there just inside the top 10. But sometimes you've just got to make sure that you're making a wise overtaking opportunity, not playing things too risky. And unfortunately for Stratford today, just a lot of mistakes from him, and he's not going to be looking back on this one with fond memories.
Yeah, really questionable that last dive there from Stratford. Don't think that was really necessary from him, but we go back live to the front. Actually, we'll stay with Stratford because he's just been passed by D'Angelo, who gives him a little bit of a hip and shoulder wide. So
it's probably the safest way to overtake Stratford tonight.
Possibly. Stratford's looking very, very aggressive in his performance tonight. We go back to the front. Rogers, Philsell, side by side into turn 1. 2 laps to go.
They are both so late on the brakes, you could not squeeze another metre out of the braking zone of these V8 Supercars. Squirreling out of the first corner, they have nothing left. The Dunlops have gone off. And if these were treaded tyres, they would not be anymore. That would be a full-blown slick. They've wore them down so much. Through the gravel, once again, through that fast left-hander. We are approaching just 5 kilometers left in this race. That's not even a lap of Bathurst left of this race.
Oh.
And look at the racing we've got as they're almost side by side once again into this corner. Rogers thinking about a crossover, and he's
going to do it. We saw the
Yeah,
last
not
time. Oh, bit of a touch. And Philsell gets unsettled. They're still side by side, but Rogers goes through, retakes the lead. We got 4 kilometers left in this race.
There was another touch up there. It's going to go side by side into one of the quickest corners in the entire series. Side by side, leave room, boys. Rogers just about gets it around the outside, but he's all kind of sideways. And that is advantage Philsell down the front straight for the final time. It is going to be 1 lap to go. And this is how our leaders are separated by 0.017. Philsell late on the brakes. Rogers on the inside. Who's going to get it out of turn 1? It's all about the exit here. Both are sliding the rear Dunlops, all kinds of sideways, and Rogers with a huge moment. That's going to be advantage Philsell.
Hold your breath stuff. Big shunt coming through the middle of turn 2. Rogers gets the punt to pass to work, and through he goes to lead. But half a lap to go. Will we see any more changes?
Normally, I would say there are no more overtaking opportunities on this track, but these guys don't seem to care for opportunities. They make them. And Philsell is right there on the back of the number 3 car of Joshua Rogers, sliding their way through some of the quicker, slower corners on this track, trying to get the power down onto this run. It's advantage Rogers at the moment, but with 1 corner to go, which sets up a huge run to the finish line. This is where it happens, Jay.
And it looks like Rogers might be able to hold on for the moment. A little bit of a run until the finish line. And Rogers wins it by just under a car length. Less than a hundredth.
It wasn't even
less than a
tenth
tenth.
of a second.
9 hundredths of a second separating first and second. Well done to Mullen McMullen. A rather uneventful race for him, but he's holding on for third. Riley Blythe has managed to hold on for 20-something laps over Michael Taliancic. So well done to him. Thomas Hinds across in 6th. And Jamie McKnight is coming up on Matt Stratford. These two guys are teammates, so I don't think there'll be anything too crazy between these two at the finish line.
You say that as they're about to go side by side across the line, but nope, McKnight's going to get that one pretty easy. So change of position there with McKnight jumping into into 10th, and Stratford falling down outside the top 10.
Wowee, what a race we've had tonight. It has been an absolutely eventful race. Who says that Summit Point isn't a great track in the V8 Supercar? Anyone that was a naysayer? Just watch this race again. That has been one of the best races we have had in this series ever. And I mean ever. That's 6 years of broadcasting, ever.
That is definitely a classic, and that's one to save by all means. So congratulations to our race winners there. That's one they're going to remember for a long time.
We'll run through the race results while we get our breath back. Josh Rogers, Jared Filsell, 91 thousandths of a second separating first and second. Well done to those two. Mullen McMullen in 3rd position. Riley Blythe in 4th. Michael Taliantich 5th. Thomas Hinds in 6th. Corey Preston 7th. Yuhu Abe in 8th position. Chris D'Angelo 9th. And rounding out the top 10 is Jamie McKnight.
Outside the top 10 in P number 11 is going to be Matt Stratford with Braden Bateman in P number 12. Brian Borg, Zach Baker and Brett Loxton round out the top 15, with Craig Jones and Jason Quire being the last of the cars on the lead lap, with drivers falling off the lead lap including Greg Sharp, Dane Warren, Michael F. Doka, Mario Vlasic, Daniel Williams, Tim Weston, Brad Ryan, Michael McCabe and Ed Williams not even beginning to start this race, which was probably the safest thing out there with the amount of action we had out there, Jay.
Yeah, that was a crazy race, and I think Summit Point has just put itself back in the schedule again, almost as a permanent fixture, because that was unbelievably entertaining. So well done to all the drivers for that one. Our next broadcast will be Wednesday night. We will be back for the Oceanic Sprint Championship, Phillip Island for that one. Phillip Island again on Thursday night for the Cup Price Racing MX5 Challenge. We head to Monza on Sunday, 9:45 a.m. Australian Eastern Daylight Savings Time for the Oceanic Endurance Championship. And next Monday, we are back in the V8 Supercar. We head to Montreal for some street circuit action. Bo, thank you very much for jumping in the booth with me again tonight. What a series this has turned out to be over the last few weeks.
It's been crazy. This series has really turned it up, and the racing we have got lately has been top-notch. And honestly, Montreal is another track that's going to produce close racing, tight racing, and brilliant amounts of chaos. So I'm definitely going to be back for that one and looking forward to it.
Yeah, cannot wait. Thank you for tuning in. As I said, we'll be back online on Wednesday night. This has been V8's Online's coverage of the iRacing official V8 Supercar Series. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.